Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live edition of an AMA. That's an Ask Me Anything. I'm very happy to be here answering your questions as I do every single weekday. Normally, that's when I do the AMA, specifically for my patrons. They've got an app that I think you're really going to find very, very useful. I love apps. I'm a software guy. I don't think that's ever going to change. And I've got it right here. It's Novio. And if you can't see up there in the upper right-hand corner, right up there, can you see my mouth move right there? Up here, not here. There. That's because it allows you to record presentations. Presentations that normally would be something you'd press a button and then it gets displayed on a computer, and trying to record that or screencast it might be difficult. This effectively allows you to record video and or audio along with your presentation to have a video that you can export and share everywhere. It's easy. And to tell you the truth, it's kind of fun too. There are PowerPoint alternatives, and I've talked about many of them in the past. I can't think of a single one that does this, specifically on my iPad. It's easy. It's clean. It's straightforward. More questions. This one, believe it or not, related. If you don't use PowerPoint, what do you use? There are a variety of alternatives, and I'm not just talking about the ones that you can get, you know, I guess the standard fare, like a Google Drive, PowerPoint, or what do they call it? Slides, or even a keynote presentation on the iPad outright, which again, lack that feature of the audio or video recording of your face or your voice. You can't really audio record your face. At least I don't think so. That would be an app, possibly. PowerPoint to me, when I give a presentation, and you've likely seen me do this at points in the past because I have recorded presentations on stage where I've given a presentation, and normally my slides are very, very simple. They're image heavy because people will pay attention to images, but I want them there to pay attention to me, not necessarily the slides. And that is how I accommodate presentation software. And if I can't be there in person, I still want them to see me. They want to hear me as the presenter. I mean, one of the reasons you probably tune into my videos on a regular basis is because you're seeing me, a human being who's communicating to you. And so if I don't use PowerPoint, and I don't very often use PowerPoint, I use words or images, even images that I might load from my iPad directly, or Creative Commons licensed images, because images help tell the story, or help me tell my story when I'm doing the presentation. Remember, the focus of your presentation, and they probably should have taught this in speech class, but, you know, when I was in speech class, so many years ago, PowerPoint wasn't even a thing. You're the presenter. You're the focal point. The software, those slides, are supportive of the story that you're telling. You are the reason they are watching. You. So it's very, very important to keep that in mind. Don't bury yourself in text. Use images. My number one tip, don't load it with things that they're not going to read anyway. Talk to them. Talk to people. I mean, how exciting would YouTube be or if all it was is all it was? Can I say that? I think I just did. Oh, the joys of recording live. If all it was a series of presentations. No audio, no voice, no interactivity, nothing like that. You are the focal point of your presentation. They're there to see you. You're the star. The support, the software, the supportive. This is, wow. I get going with things, and this is what happens when I have a third cup of coffee on the average day. The software is there to support you. Keep that in mind. And there are many ways of giving a presentation. You've got to choose your story and tell your story and tell it well. That software should be able to support you. Any tips for presenting in front of a group of people you don't know? Gauge the audience. I think that is probably one of my strongest tips, because I have often walked in front of a group that I thought I knew what they wanted, and I thought I knew what I was going to cover, and I thought it was pretty clear, but there was a massive disconnect. So I find that up front, sometimes just dipsticking the audience, you check oil in your car, okay, I got a lot of oil there. I tend to actually do a lot of Q&A in my presentations, and then find content to support the questions that are likely going to be asked, and then certainly the responses. I always like a live internet connection when I do a presentation, because sometimes I say, let me check this, let me do this, let me show you this, because it's always fun, it's more dynamic. And I think that when there is an opportunity to gauge your audience, you should take advantage of it. Because if you don't know them and they don't know you, and you start going off on this path, there could be a massive disconnect. And that could destroy the presentation. You may have the best presentation, but if you can't gauge your audience, it doesn't matter if your presentation's great. It doesn't. You've had a mismatched expectation with your audience. So gauge your audience quickly. And you can do it directly. You can say, by a show of hands, who understands how to install an application? That kind of thing. And if no one raises their hands, then you got to step them through the process in order to bring them to the point where they can understand you and value what it is that you're laying down. Gauge the understanding of your audience. Nushali Charlie Keo asks, if Star Wars was never around, what would you think you would be into? I don't know. That's very difficult to answer because I don't know. A zillion things certainly are a possibility. I have a feeling that it means so much to me because I grew up with it, and because of the toys aspect of things that kind of locked me into just liking that a lot. I liked a lot of other fandoms when I was that age, and later on in years, I certainly still appreciate certain other fandoms that I did as a child, but nowhere near that level. So if it wasn't one thing, it absolutely would have been another. What that other thing would have been, I honestly, I don't know. A, because I can't imagine. B, because there really is no second place. Like in everybody's life, you have that ultimate fandom, and then everything else is like a distant second. And, part of being that, in that fandom and loving things about it is that you have to love it for its strengths and weaknesses. Its benefits and its drawbacks. It's not just about loving it unconditionally. I think a certain amount of criticism, comes with fandoms as well, especially if there's an emotional connection that you might have with a fandom, which will have changed over time. How you experience a fandom at one age will be completely different because you'll be at a different point in your life 20 years from that time. It's why it's sometimes difficult to watch, any kind of entertainment that I might have had as a kid, today. It's different with video games because with the games I find myself getting lost in them because they're so simple. I find them just incredibly compelling. Love playing old games. Well, at least the games that I played when I was younger. How do you stay focused on tasks when the internet has so many things to draw your attention away from what needs to be done? This is something that I think is relevant for everybody. Whether you're a student, whether you do research, whether it's a part of your job. To me, I think there's too much stress or emphasis that is placed on multitasking. In fact, if you're trying to boost your productivity, get away from multitasking. Unitasking for the win. When you cannot do anything apart from that thing that needs to get done, you can only do that thing. Do that thing. That is the one thing you need to focus on. And you have to remove yourself from a variety of distractions. And I'm not saying you have to put yourself in like a, what do they call it? Like a clean room, where there's nothing else going on. But honestly, don't multitask. And if you can't stop yourself, find ways to stop yourself. You have to trick yourself. So, for example, and I'm going to kind of, it's not exactly the same, but when you're driving. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're driving. That's your primary goal. And distractive driving is an issue where you've got the second screen that's just sitting right there. So if you keep grabbing that phone and you keep doing things with it, when you shouldn't be doing anything with it, you should be driving. You have to trick yourself. So what are you going to do? Put it in the glove compartment. Put it in the back seat. Put it to where you cannot, the trunk, to where you can't possibly get it. Force yourself. Is it easy? Well, it depends on which path you need to take. You find your distraction and you remove yourself from being distracted by that thing. You have to be focused. No one else is going to keep you focused. That's your responsibility. You have to be responsible for yourself. And you can't turn to me. I can't remind you, hey, you know what? You got to get that task done. I'm not your father. And two, see how I did that? And it's your responsibility. That's what I'm saying. I was horrible at outlines. Actually, no, I loved outlines when I was a kid. I loved them. I don't know why. I think they were just so organized, right? As long as I knew, like Roman numeral 1, capital A, number 1, lowercase a. As long as I knew the progression, back in the day, man, I was just reminiscing. I shouldn't do that, I know, especially when I'm doing video. That's probably all we got time for today, but thank you for asking questions, and it was a nice array of questions, too. We went fun and functional. We were balanced. There was great balance in the force. See how I worked that in there, too? I do love you. I appreciate you, but at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices.